two, one, two. Loud, one, two. Idea, one, two. Say hello. One, two, three. One.
the tenacity of earth and its creatures. Kyrie eleison, these children will go on to save what we cannot. God, beyond our dreams, you have stirred in us a memory. You have placed your powerful spirit in the hearts of humankind. All around us we have known you. All creation lives to hold you. In our living and our dying, we are bringing you to birth. Baruch atah Adonai, the ordinary tenacity of plans and of people. Om, the center of the universe, which is everywhere, not least in the human heart.
God, beyond all names, you have made us in your image. We are like you, we reflect you, we are members of your breath. All around us we have known you, all creation lives to hold you. In our living and our dying, we are bringing you to birth.
Alleluia. Love that survives anger and winter and despair and sorrow and even death. Shalom. Love that persists.
God, beyond all words, all creation tells your story. You have shaken with our laughter. You have trembled with our tears. All around us we have known you. All creation is to hold you. In our living and our dying, we are bringing you to birth.
Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. Calm that is the seed in the dark. Amen. For endings that are beginnings, for beginnings that are endings.
God of tender clay, you have cradled us in goodness. You have fathered us in wholeness. You have loved us into birth. All around us we have known you. All creation lives to hold you. In our living and our dying, we are bringing you to birth.
Amen. We are going on. Amen. It is going on. Amen. And blessed be.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am the Reverend Lane Fisher. It is my privilege and my blessing to be minister to this congregation, which we call Peterborough Unitarian Universalist Church. We'll begin our service today with that familiar ritual. Would you please check to make sure your cell phones are turned off? Thank you. We come together today to honor the life of the Reverend Olivia Holmes, a life truly well-lived. Olivia was a member of this congregation. She also served as our interim minister in 2015 and 2016. Together, we who have gathered here and online today knew her as sister, aunt, reverend, colleague, mentor, friend, adventurer, lover of home, and so much more. Together, let us join our love and awe for her in this celebration of her life. In our denomination, we open our services by lighting a chalice. As we do so this afternoon, I invite you to hold the truth that love never dies, but continues to transform hearts and to light a way forward for everyone who has been touched by that love.
Please rise in body or in spirit. Let us sing together our opening hymn, For All That Is Our Lives.
The fire service has traditions. Throughout most of history, the life of a firefighter has been closely associated with the ringing of a bell. As they began their hours of duty, it was a bell that started the shift. Throughout their days and nights, each alarm was sounded with a bell, which called them into service for the good of their communities and the well-being of their fellow citizens. And when the fire was out, or the rescue accomplished, and the alarm had come to an end, the bell rang 4, 5 times to signal the call's completion. Now, our dear sister, aunt, friend, colleague, mentor, minister, chaplain, Olivia has completed her task, and her duties on this earth are completed. The bell rings 4 times 5 in memory of Temple Fire Department chaplain, the Reverend Olivia Holmes, in memory and in tribute to her life and her service. Fire Department, attention! Present arms!
Announcing the last call for Temple Fire Department Reverend Olivia Holmes.
Fire Department, order arms! Fall out!
I invite everybody to just take a deep breath. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Barbara Thorngren. I'm a friend of Olivia's and her mentee as the new chaplain with the Temple Volunteer Fire Department. I was blessed to be part of Olivia's care team with Reverend Shana, Cindy Conley, and Boo Martin, as well as others.
I felt honored to have cared for Olivia during her final days. In the quiet of that early December 11th morning, Olivia passed peacefully. Shana and I washed and anointed her body with sacred oils. We carefully prepared Olivia for her journey home, draping the bed with a colorful butterfly quilt made by her niece Danielle, and draping Olivia in a beautiful silk dragonfly scarf. Surrounded by flowers from her loved ones, and with a red rose in her hand, she looked at peace. In the silence of that peace, Shana reached for a book on Olivia's bedside table. It was one of Olivia's favorite books. It was The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And in that early winter morning, this is the chapter we read to Olivia at the time of her passing. Then Elmitra spoke, saying, "We would ask now of death." And he said, "You should know the secret of death, but how shall you find it unless you seek it in the heart of life? The owl whose night-bound eyes are blind to the day cannot unveil the mystery of the light. If you would indeed behold the spirit of death, open your heart wide into the body of life. For life and death are one, even as the river and the sea are one. In the depth of your hopes and desires lies your silent knowledge of the beyond. And like seeds dreaming beneath the snow, your heart dreams of spring. Trust those dreams, and in them is hidden the gates to eternity. Your fear of death is but the trembling of the shepherd when he stands before the king, whose hand is to be laid upon him in honor. Is the shepherd not joyful beneath the trembling that he shall wear the mark of the king? Yet is he not more mindful of his trembling? For what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? And what is it to cease breathing but to free the breath from its restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek God unencumbered? Only when you drink from the river of silence, so shall you indeed sing. And when you have reached the mountaintop, then you shall begin to climb, and when the earth shall claim your limbs, then you shall truly dance.
Good afternoon. My name is Margaret Beckman. I'm one of the Unitarian Universalist ministerial colleagues of our blessed friend Olivia Holmes. It wasn't all that long ago when Olivia said to Dana and me, "You will take care of the final tribute, right?" Thinking that it would be decades away, we foolishly said, "Of course." And then Shana and I found ourselves much too soon fulfilling that promise. And each of you has known Olivia in the way that only you knew her. The things that make you cry now, the things that cause you to nearly fall down laughing, are things that will stay with you for the rest of your life. Olivia Holmes wasn't a very big person. She was rather slight of build, small of stature. And though she was small in that way, she had a bigger than life presence. And now many of us find ourselves doing our level best to live up to her stature in ways that would make her smile. The hole she left in my heart when she died is huge and will remain so. Although it's been more than half a year, can you believe it, since she left us? There are times when I feel her closeness as if she was right beside me. Her very presence, sharing her wisdom, her laugh, oh my gosh, her critique, her voice, her affection, her empathy, compassion, and her sheer love for life. All of it, right here with me and you, still. To know Olivia was to know someone whose life had so many facets that a new side of her was constantly being revealed. And I knew that no matter how many nights she and I sat up into the wee hours of the morning with a bottle, okay, maybe two, of wine, I would never know everything about her amazing life. You know how we say at times he was a jack of all trades and the master of none? Well, Olivia was the master of the various things she took up to learn and perfect. For her, close enough had absolutely no meaning whatsoever. She'd keep at something until she understood it or mastered it completely. No point in doing something part way. Some of you may be familiar with the look, which I remember getting from Olivia in those times we shall not say how often she thought I was not quite where I needed to be. And always, the other side of that truth about Olivia is that she was kind and loyal and loving. I knew Olivia for actually a relatively short time. It wasn't until she left her position as the Director of International Relations with the Unitarian Universalist Association, moved here to New Hampshire to take up her ministry of interim ministry, then in Keene, when I met her. And for the following many years, we worked together on boards for our chapter's Ministers Association. We worked with our Unitarian Universalist district, one after the next, after the next. I think the thing we shared most deeply in those times and in that work was our unfailing commitment to Unitarian Universalism and to the institutions that support ministers and especially congregations. She made the work we did together fun and rewarding. And Olivia stayed with that work until the work was fully and completely done. Long after others, including, never mind, maybe me, might have said, you know, it's good enough. But it wasn't. Good enough was never good enough. our national chapter and district gatherings were often multiple-day affairs, and Olivia would just look at me or call me up and she'd say, "So you're going to be my bunkie?" I would say, "You know I'm going to be your bunkie." And I do treasure to this moment those times when we bunk together at our UU events. For it was when we worked together and played together that she would unwind a little bit and tell me the stories of her life. I learned a little bit about her family and how desperately she loved her family. She was proud of all the things she accomplished in her life, but in an understated sort of way that was authentically Olivia. She was dedicated to and extremely competent with what she did, whether it was skiing or sailing, singing with the choral society, chaplaincy with the temple firefighters, chaplaincy with our Unitarian Universalist church administrators, her ministry with the National and Local Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association and our national office. She worked with congregations. She mentored newly ordained ministers. And she supported every last one of her colleagues in ministry, whether Unitarian, Universalist, or otherwise. And she held a deep love for her family, her friends, her pets, and her gardens. The last time I saw Olivia before she became seriously ill was last July. And Olivia made the drive from Temple, New Hampshire to Castine, Maine, to attend the retirement reception the Castine congregation held for me on the town common. Not an easy or a short drive. As those of you from northern New England undoubtedly know when going from west to east. You can't get there from here. But she did. She did. She had made that same drive 7 years earlier to be part of the service of installation for my ministry in Castine, at which time she offered the charge to the minister. And at the end of my ministry, she wished me well in retirement and reminded me that no matter what I thought, it was true, that I too had been a good and faithful servant. To have Olivia Holmes with her wisdom, kindness, and love bookend that ministry for me is indeed an honor and a sign of our shared respect and affection that I will forever treasure. I know each of you over the last 6 months and in the coming 6 minutes, months, years, and decades will remember her in your own way. Perhaps later this evening, there will be some great storytelling. It's what she wanted and would expect nothing less. She would want that we would share our joy. She would be okay with us sharing our grief. And at the last, she would know that she loved us and we loved her. In the words of the Reverend Jan Richardson, this is the thing that gives me comfort. And she says, because I do not know any medicine for grief, but to let ourselves grieve. Because I do not know any cure for sorrow, but to let ourselves sorrow. Because I do not know any remedy, but to let the heart break, to let it fall open. Then let it fall open still more. Because I do not know how to mend the unmendable, unfixable, unhealable wound that keeps finding itself healed as we tend it, as we follow the line of it, as we let it lead us on the path it knows. Because I do not know any solace but to give ourselves into the love that will never cease to find us, that will never lose its hold on us, that will never abandon us to the sorrow for which it holds the cure. Let your love for Olivia be the cure that holds you in your sorrow. There are several of us who are going to offer a few words about Olivia. I met Olivia's brother Lynn in the last month of her life. It was both a hard day and a delight to meet some of the people that Olivia had been talking to me about for a long time. So Lynn, come. Oh, you're both coming.
Hi, I'm Len Holmes' second middle son, or middle child of three. I brought a bonus feature with me tonight who can share just a little bit of my time with you, and I'm delighted to be here, and I'm even more, and our family is more delighted to have all of you here. Thank you for coming. The fact that you are here is testimony to the fact that you were part of Olivia's universe, about which my brother Sid and I actually knew very little before this experience. We grew up in the same house, but we went to different schools. We went to different colleges, or maybe no college in my sister's case, and had different careers in business. In adult life, I was on the West Coast. My brother was in the Midwest, and my sister was in the East, so it was a geological difference. But coming to Temple during her passing days gave my brother and I an opportunity to be astounded by the type of community that she built here and through her life. She had international friends from her work with the UUA. She made a reputation in the world of sailing. She had a community of musicians and singers and choir. Of course, she was a significant member of the volunteer fire department. She was, I think, on a number of boards in Temple and quite familiar with all the pillars of the community. And of course, the entire UUA community was partly home to her. My brother and I didn't have any kind of total comprehension of all that. Thank you for contributing in the way that you did. Olivia grew up in a household that was still suffering from Victorian age mores. She was not encouraged to go to college, went to Catherine Gibbs secretarial school, took advantage of it. She was smart, nobody will debate me on that question. And she used her education in that realm to good advantage. She ended up meeting John Frost, with whom she built a successful consulting business, especially after they acquired Mattel as a client. And that gave her the opportunity to, with John, build the business even further. Before the term glass ceiling came into the American lexicon, my sister was breaking glass on her life through, okay? Because with Mattel and her clients in business, she became a CEO of a successful small business. Check. She was able to afford and the time and money to participate in the yachting world, sailing community. Some of you here probably were with her at either Cedar Point or New York Yacht Club. And I dare say, with pride, my sister was the first admitted woman, independent woman in the New York Yacht Club. Check. I hear glass breaking. Finally, she decided she'd make a turn in life, and she'd go to divinity school. And that was going to be a challenge if she were to go to the school of choice, which would have been Harvard Divinity School. She had no college degree, no diploma from the esteemed Harvard, and nevertheless applied and was accepted into the graduate doctoral program of divinity at Harvard. Checkmate. My dad, a Harvard graduate, was particularly proud, and we were too, of her accomplishments in that area. It was wonderful. And then, of course, she moved into the community, into the ministry, took many steps up, I don't know if up the ladder, but she contributed in many ways and received many compliments about her work and her contributions to different people's lives. And just for one, I'd like to just read one of the notes that I found in one of her folders. And it was a thank you note for some work she did. What a service. And we have you to thank for guiding us through and allowing us to honor Dad in such a meaningful way. I enjoyed making eye contact with you during the hymns and feeling your confident and generous spirit. I could take 30 minutes to share stories like that, and so we're proud of her, and I think you all can associate exactly what I'm thinking of or speaking of. My sister believed in hard work, honesty, and truthfulness. She valued the treasure of love, and she valued and was very proud of caring for possessions, both human and physical, big and small. The modifications that she did on her home is a tribute or a testimony to the kind of qualities she demanded and she achieved in life. Naturally, we mourn the loss of this cherished human being. Let us celebrate her life today in our reception after the service for what she's given all of us. I'd like to share a little bit of my time with second cousin Gordy Coburn, and whose family grew up on the East Coast, and she became extremely adopted is not the right word, very close relationship with the Coburn family, and Gordon can contribute a little bit of memories. Thank you.
I give great thanks for the gift of Olivia in our lives. What a wonderful gift. What a wonderful gift. And I also want to thank the fire department for all you've done for Olivia. I hope you know just how much you all meant to her. And it was such a great relief to hear that it was you guys that took her to Worcester when she was sick. And it was, it was such a relief to hear that she was in your hands. So thank you. Thank you very much. I didn't meet Olivia until 1999 when she came and supported my family after my mother died. And a few years later, when my father died, she conducted the service. But Olivia was different. And near the end of the service, we all got together in front of the church, and we sang Lord of the Dance, which my father really loved. And Olivia came down and sang with us, and it was wonderful. And from that moment on, I knew she was part of us. But she skied with us many times, even in Austria. And she sailed with us in Maine on my brother's boat. And she and my sister-in-law became very close because they had the same interest in music. Both were singers. And we just spent a lot of time together. She joined us for Christmas. And when we were skiing together, she knit 4 or 5 matching hats. My brother David has pictures of, which he's going to show during the reception later. But that's who she was, and she actually, made a jigsaw puzzle for me, because that's what she did. She had all kinds of talents. She was a better skier. She was a better sailor. But she was also, in many ways, a better person. She understood that her relationship with the divine was one of service. And she understood that very, very well. Just a quick story. She was also could be, quite convincing. And I didn't win many arguments with her. But when she was visiting me out in Santa Barbara, she admired some of the paintings that I have in my living room. And I said, well, they're done by a friend of mine, an artist here in Santa Barbara. So we went down to his studio, and she found a painting of the sea that she really liked. She didn't like the price. But so she and the artist got into a little bit of a, they bargained. Olivia won. And, but I hope that painting is still around anyway. But more than that, she became really a member of our family. We didn't know her when we were growing up. We didn't know that side of the family. Just, we grew up in Westchester County, and they were up here. So it was wonderful to get to know the rest of her family, otherwise that we would not have gotten to know, Dee and Marty and all the others. It's just without Olivia. And I was with Olivia when she found her house in Temple. And it was a great day when we found that house. And we visited there many times. Every time I came to visit, she had chores for me to do. But she understood, and she was very Coburn that way. Coburns like to give orders. But the last time I visited her was a few years ago, when we were on our way to Maine for my brother's memorial service, and she and I did that together, and I'll never forget that. And we also did my sister-in-law's service together. That's something that I'll never forget. But instead of giving me chores to do when I got there, and I got there a few days ahead of my brother, David, she said, let's go do some errands. And we did some errands. And one of the last things we did is we picked up at some store 4 or 5 bags of topsoil, I should say, which were quite heavy. But she never said anything else. But I knew what my job was that I was going to take them out of the back of the car and bring them over to where she wanted them, and then cut them open and help her, which I did. But she had learned, you see, not to tell me to do it because she knew I'd do it anyway. Anyway, it was, I can't tell you how grateful we are in the Coburn family of having discovered Olivia and become friends with her, and the love that we share together in many, many different kinds. And I'm very, very grateful for that. And so, thank you for the opportunity to share.
As we have heard from so many others today from this podium, Olivia meant so much to so many. To some, she was a sister, a great aunt, a minister, a devoted neighbor. And for most of us, she was your first phone call when something went wrong, the person you knew was going to show up with a cold bottle of white wine and a home-cooked meal when you needed it most. I am one of the few that had the honor of calling Olivia Tanti, which is our version of the French word for aunt. And for those of you who don't know me, I am Tanti's favorite and only nephew. And as my sister Sarah and my cousins Danielle and Melissa will attest, she enriched our lives by her continuous presence. At holidays, on vacations, to host a family gathering, or just to pop in for a visit. She was always there for us as children. And as we grew up, she was also there in our later years and as we had children of our own. While I was starting my first job in New York City years and years ago, she hosted me for weeks at her home in Connecticut. Now, I graduated college before looking for an apartment was something you would do on Google, so Aunt Olivia made my New York City apartment search her #1 priority. On the weekends, she drove me to New York, and we drove up and down the streets of Manhattan, looking for phone numbers for landlords, assessing the buildings. Did this one look nice? Could I see myself living there? Finally, we had a list of apartments and phone numbers until I finally found my first tiny studio. My wife, Mary Alice, and I were honored that she performed our wedding ceremony, and she took great care with all the details of the service, and even arranged a venue for the reception. Tanti has visited us often over the years and has made a great effort to be with us on the holidays. She would think nothing of coming down, driving from New Hampshire to New York City for our daughter Isabel's violin concert, or coming to lend a hand at school pickup. And I know she did the same for her great nieces Sadie and Anna in California and Linville in Massachusetts. And last summer, she treated us all to a thrilling evening on Broadway for a musical. Our times with Tanti were almost always filled with stories, music, and song. I think probably all of us remember harmonizing with her with a guitar, a keyboard, or maybe a banjo. And I recall the care and time she spent studying her parts for very complicated choral arrangements within the Madonna chorus, which she deeply loved. In fact, she even taught herself Latin and, like her father, translated the old tune, "I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles," from English into Latin, to our great delight. She loved adventure and was always ready to dive in, whether it was a trip to the Antarctic, or skiing or sailing, or traveling to the Kashi Hills of India. She was so devoted to others, her beloved community, all of you here in Temple, her neighbors, and the many in her extended social circle. And when I speak about caring for others, I also include four-legged and winged friends as well. Now, most recently, she adored Wiley and Winston, as well as hundreds of birds, turkeys, and the occasional black bear at her bird feeder. And as children, we vividly remember visiting her in Norwalk, Connecticut, where she would walk her pet goat named Billy each night as if Billy was a friendly Labrador, with a leash and a collar. I know how lucky I am to have had Tanti as part of my life and that of my family, and her generosity, love, and spirit have left us all better for knowing her. So, as we remember her today, let us all honor her by living with the same kindness, curiosity, generosity that she brought to all those she touched. Thank you, Tanti, for loving us and for being there for us. We love you, and we will miss you always.
I was just thinking, maybe I ought to. You saved me from figuring it out. I'm the Reverend Melissa Carville-Ziemer, and along with Jeanette Lawyer, who you heard sing today, I am one of the co-directors of the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association, which is the professional association for Unitarian Universalist ministers, made up of almost 2,000 members in the United States, Canada, and beyond. And you might notice that I'm wearing the same stole as you see up here, Olivia's stole. The reason for that is because Olivia served on our Board of Trustees, which is the highest volunteer office in the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association. It is a significant role, and she held it with grace, commitment, and generosity. She was deeply beloved by her colleagues, and she continued to serve even after her term as treasurer on our Board of Trustees was done, continuing on in significant leadership in our investment committee. Many colleagues, when they're done with their term of service, say, thanks, it was nice to work with you, and move on to other ventures, but she remained involved, and we are deeply grateful. I asked some of the members of the Board of Trustees who served with her during that time to share their remembrances with us, and I have for you today a kind of quilt of some of their words. Smart, savvy, kind, competent, wise, experienced, trustworthy. These are some of the adjectives they chose when we invited them to share their remembrances of working with Olivia. Consider this from Reverend Kelly Asperuth Jackson. Olivia was a minister of meticulous, considered integrity. It's a too rare thing in the world to find someone who is careful and confident in the principled stances that they take, while still open to having their mind changed. Yet these two virtues met with complementarity in her. And this from Reverend Dr. Linda Olson Peebles. Olivia was both warm and compassionate, even when she was being sharp and unsaccharine. She was welcoming to people at all stages of experience and confidence, never dismissing a colleague's views, in spite of the fact that she often had much more wisdom and experience than those with whom she worked. And in so many ways, she inspired confidence and encouragement to those who witnessed her commitment to Unitarian Universalism, to ministry, and to the importance of collaborative work for justice. Her life was a blessing to us all. From Reverend Cheryl M. Walker. Olivia struck me as a New Englander through and through, right down to the accent. She was strong-willed and unafraid to express her opinions, and at the same time, she was not inflexible. It might have taken a little coaxing, but she was open to trying new ideas. Like meetings with no timed agenda items. She didn't like it one bit and thought it was a terrible idea and let me know. Cheryl was the president of the board. Not in an unkind way, because she was kind at her core, just in her tell you exactly what I think Yankee kind of way. Though she didn't like it, she went with it. And then when it went better than she thought, she let me know that too. It was my honor and privilege to serve on the Board of Trustees of the UMA with Olivia. I call it an honor because she was an honorable woman. It was a privilege because getting to know her was a blessing. And Kelly Asperuth Jackson, with whom I began, ended his remembrance with these words. In a profession where saying thank you well is among the most important disciplines, Olivia was a standout practitioner of the art. Her expressions of appreciation were lasting and heartfelt. Now, it's our turn to say thank you. We are so grateful for Olivia and for everyone who nurtured and supported her in her becoming. She has been a tremendous blessing to our collegial community, to our Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association, to Unitarian Universalism, and to our world. And we are grateful.
How's everybody doing? How about you all stand up for a second? Shake your right hand. Shake left hand. Shake your right foot. Shake the thing you're sitting on. Deep breath. Better? Sit down. I'm Reverend Shana Appel. It was my good fortune, my absolute joy, my honor to have been a close friend and colleague of Olivia's for about 28 years. Olivia and I met when she jumped in to offer me assistance with a huge project I had gotten over my head in. It was a big job. I needed help. Olivia stepped into the breach of my overwhelm, put a flawless plan into place, and helped me execute it in such a way that this 3-day historic event went off without a hitch. Now, as I stand before you today and recall this story of our meeting, I find myself wondering how many of you have similar stories about Olivia to share. She was an absolute master at organization and getting things done, and seeing people's possibilities often before we saw them ourselves. Olivia was one of the first people to discern my call to ministry, and she was by my side for the entire journey, 18 months of which took place right here at the Peterborough Unitarian Universalist congregation. She was my mentor, she was my friend, and yes, my occasional agitator. She was with me the day I received my own cancer diagnosis, and in her quietly persistent, sometimes less quietly so, in her persistent way, helped me find the strength to choose combat over concession. And so you see, I am literally here today and cancer-free because of Olivia. I was also the person Olivia called in the morning of her stroke, and along with some of Liv's family members, Sid, Len, Nick, Danielle, Melissa, and their loved ones. Dear friends, Boo Martin, Cindy Conley, Reverend Barbara Thorngren, walked with Olivia throughout the last month and a half of her life. Now, to say that that journey was difficult would be a monumental understatement. But I'd also be remiss if I failed to lift up the tender sacredness of that time that we all spent together. Time that was made all the more precious by your thoughts and cards and remembrances that you were sending to Olivia, and which we were all getting as a side effect. To try and capture the entirety of Olivia's life in a service such as this is just not possible. And you've heard all the reasons why already, so I'm not going to go into those. These are our stories to tell, and I hope that, in fact, folks will continue to tell them at the reception afterwards today and in the days and weeks and months and years ahead. I want to talk briefly with you today about two things. First, the way Olivia entertained guests, and second, the experience of driving past her home, which I do often these days. First, Entertaining 101 by the Reverend Olivia Holmes. As near as I can tell from my 28-year relationship with the woman, she absolutely never, ever, ever did anything half-assed. And the task of entertaining friends and/or strangers in her home or elsewhere was always carried out with the same attention to detail, the same care and dedication, and all the grace she could bring to an event. Olivia loved to play the role of host, and to that role she brought all the expertise, elegance, and generosity we came to know, love, and appreciate. But at the same time, her entertaining of guests, it was never about her. It was never intended to show off her truly luscious culinary skills, her great taste in, just about everything, her beautiful home, her superpower of bringing really interesting people together. It was about us. It was about us and the fundamental love and respect she carried for all people. We Unitarian Universalists place a high value on the inherent worth and dignity of all people. Entertaining was just one of the many ways Olivia lived that out. But again, it was never about her. She loved us all deeply, even and perhaps especially on those days when we showed up as less than our most lovable selves. Not that I'm speaking from experience. So I ask you all to remember those times spent with Olivia around her table or out in her beautiful yard, and when you do, know that you too were deeply loved and cherished. Finally, driving past Olivia's house. I think the first time I did this was a day or two after she had passed, and because Olivia was in the process of selling her home and moving to Rivermead when she suffered her stroke, by the time she died, most of her belongings had been sold. The house was already in the hands of its new owners. Even her beloved cat, Riley, was already adjusting to life in his new home at Rivermead with Mary Ellis. Driving by her home that first time was, well, I don't think devastating is too strong a word. My beloved friend was gone, and it seemed that even her earthly footprint had vanished overnight, and yet, in some small way, seeing those lights on at her place, I found it comforting. Her beloved home was now being loved by its new occupants, and while the reality of that weighed heavily on my heart, it is also the way of things. I know the holidays came and went, but I was in no mood for them. I was, as I imagine many of you were, bereft, bereaved, and aching for the company of my friend. More than anything, I just wanted one more chance to sit and share a fine single malt. You got wine, I got the good stuff. Just saying. And some seriously good conversation with my pal. But that was never again going to be so, and driving past Olivia's home in those early days following her death was just a heartbreaking reminder of that fact. But as is always true, time doth heal. One day I drove by Olivia's house and noticed something was being done in the yard, and then a few days later I realized that what I had seen was a pad for a new shed that was ultimately erected. It looked great. Finally spring, and with it all those beautiful flowers Olivia had planted and tended so carefully over the years were back and in bloom. I'd be lying to you if I said I no longer feel sadness driving by her former home. But I'd be lying, too, if I did not also confess the joy and gratitude her memory stirs in me now. I mention this because those of you joining us at the Timberdoodle Club following this service will also drive past Olivia's former home. I don't know what it'll stir in you, but trust it. Just trust it. Whatever it is, a single and evolving point on an emotional continuum, not the first, and certainly not the last. Following the death of her husband, poet Jan Richardson wrote, "Perhaps for now it can be enough to simply marvel at the mystery of how a heart so broken can go on beating." As if it was made for precisely this. As if it knows the only cure for love is more of it. As if it sees the heart's sole remedy for breaking is to love still. As if it trusts that its own persistent pulse is the rhythm of a blessing we cannot begin to fathom, but which will save us nonetheless. My friends, trust your hearts. Trust love. Lean into grief. The only way out is through. Beloveds, the one we loved and lost is no longer where she was. May she always and forever be wherever we are. So may it be. Blessed be. Ashe, Shalom, Amen.
And will you come forward? Everyone in this room knows that, like fire, Olivia was a force of nature. As we extinguish our chalice, let us hold the stories shared today as treasures. Let us hold the love that Olivia channeled into our world in so many ways as a priceless gift for all of time. And let us know that Olivia would want nothing more for us than that we let our light shine. May it be so.
In just a moment, we're going to sing our final hymn, but I just want to give a brief instruction to anybody heading to the reception afterwards. You will head eastbound on Route 101 till you get to Maple Mart, otherwise known as Ben's Sugar Shack. It's huge. You cannot miss it. You will turn left just after Ben's Maple Mart. That road will veer around to the right. You'll see signs for Stepping Stone Farms. Ignore the sign for Timberdoodle. Just keep driving down that road. You're going to see a tent, big tent, on your right, and just past the tent, you're going to see signs to turn in. No bushwhacking, right? They've actually mowed the grass so we can drive in and find a place to park and then join us up at the tent. And I know the family's looking forward to greeting you all personally, so I hope that you'll be able to join us. And with that, I invite you to rise again, in body or in spirit. Let's sing our closing hymn, number 103, For All the Saints. Sing it with vigor. It was one of Liv's favorites.
Let us let us bless the life and spirit of Olivia Holmes. May our memories of her inspire us to press into our own fullest potential. We bless Olivia for her nimble mind and her forthrightness, for all of the ways that she spoke truth with love. May we, too, be quick to recognize our truths and to state them fearlessly. We bless Olivia's passions for adventure and beauty. May her life remind us to take risks, feel kinship with the winds that strike us, sing with our whole beings, and kneel on the ground before flowers. We bless Olivia for her audacity and determination. May she teach us never to presume that the answer is no. May we remember her service and stretch when we are asked to serve. We bless Olivia's great capacity to love. May it inspire us to share warmth and curiosity with the stranger, and to speak generously to all around us. And when our days are done, may a lively love trail behind us, alive in the hearts of all whom we have known. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.